Anyway, um, technology is wonderful when it works and you know how to use it. So, good morning, one and all. I'm so happy to see you because God has a sense of humor, don't you think? He gets you going with spring, daylight savings time, and then all of a sudden gives you some snow. This morning, I just want to ask how many attend, and you don't need to show your hand if you'll judge, but enough people go on devotion from time to time in the morning, right? Yeah, how many? You want to raise your hand? Proclaim yourself? That's fine. Um, I know over the past, whatever, 2.5 years, I'm losing count. Dr. Yong has been helping us renew our hearts. Do you agree? Those of you who attend. And then recently, this year especially, we've heard numerous um, presentations and messages, and of course the constant devotion about the world of heart. Um, how many were here last week to receive Brother Ivan's message? I thought it was profound. It was really well planned and very deep, you know, very encouraging, but it was also very truthful, okay? And then a few weeks earlier, we had our sister Kaori, who was here to witness her message. If you weren't here for her message, that's okay. But that's what stimulated me. It touched my heart very deeply because of how she presented what she said. It wasn't exactly what she said, but these are the words that came to my mind. She was very vulnerable, she was very sensitive, she was very protective, and she was very trusting in all of us who were here. And also she was very revealing. And I thought, when was I last like that? Outside of trying to be that way with my wife. And it reminded me of my early spiritual life. How about you? Anybody else reflect on that part? You know, we weren't sure how to use our heart when we first joined the church, for instance, up until that time. You know, if you tried to share your heart, you were attacked and persecuted or worse. So we protect our heart, don't we? It's sometimes hard to open our heart to one another, right? When Father, and I'm going to refer a lot to Father this morning because I followed Father for 35 years before he went to the spirit world, so he's very deep in my heart and my soul. So if I refer to him, I'm not just, cutting Mother out. It's that I'm still, fond of what Father taught us. And I'll never forget the first time he shared with our group, audience, whatever we were, about three aspects of our life: the heart, the intellect, and the will. Do you remember that? Any old timers here? Do you remember Father talking about heart, intellect, and will? And that was such a relief. Then I realized, I fit. I can fit here. I belong here. Thank you, God, I said. And ever since then, I'm not an intellectual. I'm not an academic. I'm whatever an intellectual is. Will, I'm still here after almost 50 years, so I have some will. You have some will. But the world of heart is, I think, what tantalized me to pursue a deeper understanding of Father's teaching. Because the world of heart is a world of mystery when you're young. And I explained that a little bit to Kaori-san after she gave her message. And I thanked her because you shared something that's not easy, especially as a young person. And she wanted to be here this morning. She will watch this on Facebook. My understanding is we share these messages on Facebook. I don't know, but she's obligated to take care of some youth. But I told her I hope you can come because you were the inspiration for my message this morning. And yeah, there's no secret. It's the world of heart, our world of heart. And we all know what that means, so it's easy to talk to you. No matter what your native language is, you understand probably better than me, some of you, about the world of heart. Your cultures have dealt in the world of heart longer than my culture has. I'm still learning. But leaving behind a legacy of love, we have been sending our brothers and sisters off to the spirit world for their eternal life, right? And my wife and I have been a part of several over the years. And what we have all come to understand is that it's not a sad time, it's a celebration of their life. And we have slideshows now. Before it was just pictures. That touches people so deeply because that's a testimony to what? Their legacy of love. Brother Joel, recently, I love to watch the slideshows, and especially when the families put them together, because that's what their memory is of their father or their loved one. And it really touches everybody who attends. So, legacy of love. Okay? You're going to leave behind something, so you're going to leave behind a legacy, right? All right, True Father's words. The teacher with whom we have the closest relationship is our heart. Our heart is more precious to us than our closest friends, and even more precious than our parents. And for Kaori-san and others who are becoming parents, they're transitioning now into their position as parents. Okay, now that's a big step. So we live our lives. We need periodically to ask our hearts, am I living a good life now? I think Kaori brought this out. Anyone can hear his heart speak to him if he comes to the realization that his heart is his master. He polishes his heart and maintains a close relationship with his heart throughout his life. And if a person hears the sound of his heart tearfully sobbing, do you know what sobbing means? If your heart is crying and sad, then it needs to stop immediately, whatever you're doing. Because anything that makes the heart suffer will ruin you, or you ruin him or her. Anything that makes the heart sad will eventually make the person fall into sadness. For a person to polish his heart, do you know what polish means? Okay? Polish your heart to the point that it becomes as clear as crystal. Then he absolutely must spend time in direct conversation with his heart in an environment where he is away from the world and alone with his heart. This was brought out by our brother Ivan in his presentation last week, as I recall. There was a lot of content. This is what I remembered, because he kind of warned us. It'll be a time of intense loneliness, but the moment that we become close to our hearts, it's a time of prayer and meditation. It's a time when we can take ownership over our hearts, and when we isolate ourselves from the noise around us and allow our thoughts to settle, we can see into the deepest parts of our heart. And it'll take a lot of time and effort to go all the way down to where the heart has settled. It'll not happen in a day. I think Kaori woke up to that fact. So, the answer to the question of how we should live our lives is simple. We were born of love, so we must live by traveling the path of love, and our lives were created by receiving the boundless love of our parents, so we must live our entire lives repaying that love. In the success, or in the course of our lives, there's only value that we can choose on our own. So the success or the failure of our lives depends on how much we love and how much love we can pack into our 80 years or so that we're alive on the earth. So the most important is not to commit to sin. And I think Kaori-san again realized that during her presentation. Live a life that's without shadows. Father always guided us about this point. And there is much religious and philosophical debate over what constitutes sin. But what's clear is that we should not engage in acts that cause or give pause to our conscience. So when we do things that give us a guilty conscience, it leaves a shadow on our heart. And so please consider for a moment what you can do to show that you lived a life of value, the possessions and the social position that you have accumulated during your life will pass away from you. Father used to drive this point home, especially when we were young members. Many graduates would come out of the seminary all pumped up, but Father would shut them down. He said, it doesn't matter your title or your responsibility, what matters is growing your heart. The possessions, social position that you accumulated during your life will pass away from you, and once you cross the river of death, like so many of our brothers and sisters, such things will have no meaning. And so, because we were born in love and lived our lives in love, love is also the only thing that remains with us when we are in our graves. And so we receive our lives in love, and we live by sharing love and return to the midst of love. So it's important that we live our lives in a way that we can leave a legacy of love behind us. Make sense? Sure. You're my brothers and sisters. You know more than me. Well, am I pushing the wrong? Oh, there we go. Okay. So what brought this to my mind was the third blessing. We've also been studying a lot of the three blessings, have we not? Dr. Young is teaching three blessings. Anyway, we're living and reliving and renewing our understanding about the three blessings. Well, I just happen to be fond of the third blessing. Maybe some of you know. And when I thought about it, I felt, how many here have experienced a change of heart? A change of heart? Only one person has had a change of heart? Thank you, sister. Wow, none of you have had a change. Oh, thank you, brother. There you go. Everybody's waking up this morning. A change of heart, really. It can be easy or it can be difficult. I've had many of both. I'm showing these photos because the black and white photo is, probably where I originated as a fisherman or fisher person. In that era, and that's long ago, if you went fishing, it was fun, and if you caught fish, you kept them. You kept the fish. What'd you do with the fish? It's hard to say. Right, that would be the natural inclination, is to try to eat the fish, right? And I remember keeping fish that I didn't eat. I'm a bad man. All right, anyway, things have evolved. So the next picture with all those guys with their tuna, that is definitely more a contemporary picture where they have to obey regulations, okay? I'm sure they could catch as many fish as they could catch for the time that they're out there on their boat catching fish. But there's laws now and regulations now that say, no, you can only catch one or two at the most on some species, right? Now, the little picture of this guy with the sunglasses, can you see it? So this was a breakthrough. This was a change of heart for me. I went fishing just up here in the northern part of Ohio, just maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I brought my cooler in the car, and I met my friend that I was fishing with. We were preparing. We were going to go out. And he saw in my car this cooler. He says, "What's the cooler for?" And I think I remember saying something like, "Well, whatever I catch, I want to harvest at least one and take home and eat him." He didn't like that. He didn't like that. And if you could read my heart in this picture, it's like, I really don't want to let this fish go. I want to bring this fish home. I really want to keep this fish. But now I can still see this fish after all these years. I let him go. I let the fish go. Because this is the spawning time when I caught this fish. These fish, these are trout or steelhead. They only come into the river a certain time, then they go back out. They come in for what? Spawning, making the next generation, all right? Well, anyway, needless to say, I adjusted my heart. Now, according to the third blessing, gaining dominion over the natural world hasn't been easy for humans, okay? We've abused a lot of the natural world, right? But the internal dominion denotes the dominion of heart. And external dominion denotes the proper mastery of the creation through science and technology. When I first got familiar with this, I was struggling. What? Let a fish go? Are you kidding me? It's been a process over the years, right? And I had the master in front of me years and years ago with Father. And there is a proper place and a proper time to catch a fish and keep the fish, etc. And when you're the Messiah, you know what you're doing, so I don't question him. But I had to relearn, okay? So I had a change of heart. But God's providence of restoration has gradually elevated. Hello? We're being elevated spiritually by fallen people toward God. And I have to say, all the fish I've caught or all the places I've fished, I would have given all that up to come closer to God, would you not? Doing your favorite thing, whatever you enjoy to do. If you could get closer to God by sacrificing that, right? That's why we are all here, is to grow closer to God. Anyway, there is evidence, okay, if you take the time to look, that people are regaining the worthiness to govern the creation through heart. This is just one example. You know, anywhere you look, everywhere you look, you can see changes. Can you not? Everybody, you can see the changes sometimes if you look closely, right? So we're there. Good. Well, observing the signs of reestablishing God's third blessing, we're assured that the present era is what? The last days. The last days. So I thought this was indicative of how far we've come, at least in our world of fishing. You know, we joyfully now return the fish to the sea, to the ocean, not the river only or the lake, but also the ocean. The ocean's got billions of fish. But we joyfully send him back so he can make more babies. Anyway, you get my point?
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time and attention. So our world of heart is what we share. I encourage us to share more with one another from the world of heart. Don't hold back. I think from now, Kaori is going to have every opportunity she can imagine to open and share her heart. All of us have been sharing our hearts for a long time, right, Fatu?
Yes.
So our heart is the window to God. Follow your heart more and more. I wish some of you were here yesterday in our event, because there was a flow of heart that was astounding. Right, Brother Reese? Yes. It was astounding. Anyway, your legacy, our legacy, it depends on how we live and how we love. Okay? Enough? You got my message? Who do you want to pray? Okay. Thank you.